Today, let us discuss about roof truss from Unit 3. And one of the member that we are going to design today in this video is purlin. A roof truss has different members like bottom chord, top chord. They are the tie beams. Bottom chord is nothing but tie beam and rafter, purlins, grids. So we have different members which make up a truss, and an industrial building has a few number of trusses and columns and all the setup which is connected together by bolt or weld to form a steel structure. So we are going to design purlin, and before going into that, let me give you an idea what is a purlin and what are the design considerations and design procedure of purlins. So purlin is nothing but a beam which is joining to truss. Let me show you this figure that would help you, I believe. See, generally we have a strut like this, right? We have a strut here. Let us say this is a simple truss, and we have an other truss over here. But now let me just clear this, right? Now this is a truss and this is a truss. In an industrial building, if you take, there would be number of trusses, and there are going to be some horizontal members that are passing from one truss to another, and these are nothing but purlins. These are nothing but purlins, and these here which are inclined are nothing but rafters. Rafter, R-A-F-T-E-R. This is also a rafter. So you can see that the purlins are running from truss to truss, that is from one rafter to the another. They are joining these two trusses, and these purlins are attached to the rafter of the truss. And let me just take this alone. This is how it is going to look, isn't it? So this is the inclined rafter, and this is nothing but purlin. And these purlins can be of any section, channel section like this. Second one, this is channel section, or angle sections like this, or any C or Z sections, and even I sections also. Of course, these are joined to the rafters by weld, by using a cleat angle, or by weld connection. And remember the orientation of these purlins. See, if this is an angle section or a C channel section, the flange, the opening should be onto the opposite side as shown in this figure A. This is how it has to be. See, you know that even though this rafter is of course, as this rafter is inclined, the purlin which is attached to this rafter is also going to be inclined, right? So if you take the axis of the C section, this is how it's going to be one axis, and this is how other axis is going to be, isn't it? But the load coming onto this purlin and the purlin self weight is not going to be along these two axes, right? The load, always acts perpendicular to the level line, or you can say that the load is going to be always towards the center of the earth, that is perpendicular, vertically downward, right? So this load acting on this beam and self weight of this purlin, the sum of these two loads is going to be vertically downward, which is going to be inclined with this two axis also. We are going to see in detail when we are discussing the problem. Okay, so design procedure. Generally, we use channel sections or I sections and angle sections. If it is C section or angle section, C section and I section, this is this design procedure that you need to follow. And if you are going for angle section, we have an empirical design procedure which is obtained from BS 59501 2000. This is the code book that gives us the empirical design procedure for angle purlins. So when you are using angular sections as purlins, this is the design procedure that you need to use. And if it is I section or channel section or C section, you have to follow this procedure. See, the procedure is going to be very much similar, and the equations that we are going to use are simple and repeated equations. We have seen these equations in the unit 2 in the design of beams, and also the general terminology is very simple, and that is the terminology that we have used in the previous RCC structures also. And if you are diploma students, you may be already aware of these steps. You have gone through this design procedure in your steel structures in roof truss, design of roof truss, right? So let me go through this procedure briefly, but I believe that you can more effectively understand the procedure of this purlin design when we solve a problem on this. Okay, but let me go briefly in this video. So the first thing is the span of the purlin is taken as center to center distance. So as I told you, this is a rafter, this is a rafter. This purlin is the horizontal member passing from one rafter to the other, right? And this purlin from here to here, center to center distance. This is truss and this is another truss, center to center distance. And spacing also, we have number of purlins here, okay? And center to center distance is the spacing of purlins. The gravity load P due to sheeting, we use sheets and everything, right, to cover the roof. Of course, we know, we are aware of this asbestos sheets that we regularly use. And this sheeting load and live load, wind loads, whatever the load that is acting on this roof has to be calculated. And the component of these loads in the direction perpendicular to the roof and parallel to the roof or sheeting are determined. So as I told you earlier, see, this is how a section going to be. If it is a C section, this is how a C section is going to be, right? This is the axis. For example, this is YY axis and this is ZZ axis. But the load W is going to be all kind of loads vertically, right? So now you have to resolve this load into two components. One component, see here, this component here is perpendicular to the rafter or sheeting. Of course, sheeting ikkada paina vastundi, but see, it has to be along YY axis and other component has to be along ZZ axis. See, YY axis is actually perpendicular to the rafter or the sheeting, roof, right? And whereas Z is parallel to the roof or roof sheeting. So Z is parallel to roof, YY is perpendicular to the roof. So you have to resolve the total loads into two components in these two directions. And factor of safety, partial factor safety factors are to be considered from table 4 of this code book. Of course, you are aware of this factor, right? when dead loads and live loads are used, the combination of those two loads should be multiplied with 1.5. And when you use earthquake loads or wind loads plus live load plus dead load, the gamma f is going to be 1.2. When you use earthquake loads and dead loads, you use 1.5 and zero point 0.9. Okay, we are going to see when we are so going to solve problem. But you are aware of these partial safety of factors, which you multiply with the loads to get the factored loads. So from that you calculate the maximum bending moment mz and my. Mz is the moment about zz axis. See, this is the purlin and this is the zz, and this is how, I mean, perpendicular to this is going to be yy, and this purlin is going to bend about zz axis, and it is also going to bend in the yy axis also. Therefore, the bending is going to be about two axes. So this purlin is subjected to biaxial bending. Okay, this purlin is subjected to biaxial bending because it is going to bend because of the load in z axis, about z axis and about y axis also. So that is why it is going to be a little bit different from the usual beam design. Okay, when you solve this problem, this seems to be similar to steel beam design, which we have looked in our unit 2. Okay, so you have to calculate mz, my, the maximum bending moment about z and y axis, and the shear force also in z and y directions using the factor load that are obtained in step 2. And after that, you have to find out what is the plastic section modulus of the section, ZP. Of course, here we have two axes, right? About two axes also this purlin is going to bend. Therefore, this purlin section should have strength against the bending in Z and Y axis. Okay, about Z and Y axis. But when we are trying to calculate the section modulus, okay, we have to use both these moments to calculate that ZP. Z. Okay, this is the section modulus, plastic section modulus, considering the mz moment. Of course, the influence of my is also taken in the calculation of plastic section modulus by this simple equation. See here, section modulus about z is equals to mz gamma m naught by fy plus 2.5 d by b into my into gamma m naught by fy. Here, the denotation that I have adopted for this d is h in my problems. Okay, when I am solving the numerical problem, this d is taken as h, which is overall depth of section. Okay, let me show you. If this is the C section, this overall depth is this is h, and this is d. So d and h are not same. In this equation, d is the denotation used for h, but I'm using h as the denotation for that. So mz, which we have calculated in the step 3, and my, and gamma m naught is 1.1, and fy is the yield strength of this purlin material. Of course, it is going to be 250 Newton per mm square in most of the cases, unless mentioned. And d by b. See, what is d? Overall depth. What is b? B is the width of the flange. This is B, or of course BF. So you may get a doubt here. In order to calculate ZPZ, you need to know what is D and B, that is overall depth and the width of the section. But till now, I don't know what is the section I am going to use. Circular, or um, channel section, angle section, or I section. Of course, since I am following this procedure, it is going to be channel or I section. So what is the section? Okay, channel section I have taken. So what is the depth and the width is going to be? I don't know. Still, I did not decide what section I have to use. Right? So you have to consider a trial section. Trial section. You have to consider a trial section. For example, ISMC 200. Okay, this ISMC 200 means this 200 indicates the capital H, right? And the B is 75 mm from the code book. Okay, these are the values that you have to take in place of H and B and substitute them and put, and you calculate ZPZ value. So this is the trial section. It is important to consider a trial section. So once you know this ZPZ value, you know that you have to go to the annexure H of IS 800, and based on this ZPZ value, you have to calculate, you have to select a proper section. Okay, a proper section, I section or a channel section. It's finished. Now, in the fifth step, classify the section. You know, a section can be classified into plastic, semi-compact. So these are the two sections, two types of sections. Of course, there are four actually, but in most of the cases, we generally go for plastic. Generally, the section we considered would be plastic or semi-compact section. Okay, and the other thing is, other two are compact and slender. We do not prefer such kind of sections mostly. And next is checking the shear capacity of the section. So you have selected a section. So now you have to calculate VD and check whether this V is less than VD or V is greater than VD. This VD is nothing but shear capacity. This same thing has been done in our beam design in Unit 2 also. But here we have to check the shear capacity about in both Z and Y axis. Therefore, we are going to have VDZ and VDY. Okay. The only thing is the area that changes here. But the important thing here is in purlins, V is going to be very, very much less than VD. Ante, the shear force that is induced in the beam because of the external load is going to be very, very, very much smaller than the actual strength of the member. Therefore, shear check can be skipped. Okay, if it is a purlin, this V is going to be very, very much smaller than VD. Therefore, the strength of this section is very much high in shear. So you can skip this step. Okay. And now, of course, AVZ and AVY are given in this way. These are the and now you have to calculate the moment carrying capacity. Of course, this is also we have done in our beam design, which we denote with MD. Okay, design bending capacity or moment capacity. which is given by this simple expression, and of course it has to be less than or equals to 1.2 times of z fy gamma m naught. And similarly, mdy about y-axis is going to be this expression. And when calculating mdy, we use this expression gamma f, and this gamma f is going to be 1.5. Okay, so we are not going for this 1.2 in this place. See here, in the second equation, 1.2 is replaced by gamma f, and it is because in the y direction, the shape factor Zp by Ze will be greater than 1.2 for sure. The plastic section modulus about y-axis divided by elastic section modulus about y-axis, their ratio is going to be 1.2, greater than 1.2. In such case, we cannot use here the term 1.2. So we use, instead of 1.2, gamma f, and where gamma f is going to be 1.5. So by using that, we can prevent the yielding of this section in the y direction due to unfactored loads. So in such a case, అన్ఫ్యాక్టర్డ్ లోడ్స్ కారణంగా ఏమవుతుందంటే వై డైరెక్షన్లో ఈల్డ్ అయిపోతుంది అనమాట మెంబర్ అనేది. ఓకే, ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు ప్రివెంట్ దాట్ వీ గో ఫర్ దిస్ 1.5. ఓకే, టు avoid that in any case. But of course, that's not an issue, because when we are designing this purlins, this condition is not going to be satisfied. Okay, this mdy is going to be greater than this value. Okay, but don't worry about that, no problem. And now next case is, but here in the step 7, you have to consider that you have to check this mdz should be greater than mz, which we calculated in step 2, I think, and mdy should be greater than my, which we calculated. This is the important condition that has to be satisfied in 7th. And in 8th, this is the check for local capacity. If this check is satisfied, local failures are not going to happen. So you know what is local failure? That is crippling and buckling not going to occur. Okay, so if this condition is satisfied, local failures are not going to be occurred. Okay, so it is a simple equation, mz by mdz plus my by mdy should be equals to or less than 1. And next, just deflection, find out the deflection has to be less than 1 by 180, L by 180. This is the permissible value, which can be obtained from table 6 of code IS 800. And of course, you know these purlins to calculate the expression to calculate deflection in the purlins. And next, under wind load, you have to check for the suction. So because of this, there is going to be lifting of this roof, tends to lift it. So because of this, there is a reversal of forces. See, until then a member may be subjected to tension, but because of this wind load, it can change. It can be compressive can become tensile, reversal of stresses can happen, and the deflection can change. So you have to check for the wind suction also. So in order to do that, you have to find out the mz and my corresponding to wind, and you have to check this condition and the deflection also. Of course, you will go in detail when we are designing this numerically. And This is the empirical design of angular purlins. So what we are going to do is, we are going to find out what is the moment due to unfactored load. Unfactored load అంటే the loads that are not multiplied with the partial safety factor. Okay, so find out those loads and the moment due to those loads. And the bending strength of a member of the angle section can be given by Fy into Z Ez. So equate these to get Z and based on the elastic section modulus, go to the code book and select a proper angular section. That's it. Okay, so that is a very simple procedure, isn't it? So we will see that what should be the depth of the section and what should be the width of the section from this empirical procedure. And the roof should not exceed a slope of 30 degrees. Okay, so next, coming to the different members of an industrial structure. Of course, you are aware of these terms already, but let me just give you a picture of this. So as I told you, this is the truss, this is the truss member, which is made up of different members here, and these are purlins, these horizontal members, and this is the ridge strut at the top, and roof bracing. You can see this is the bracing, and this is the wall bracing which is given for the wall, and this is what we call a bay, and these are wall grids, these horizontal members that are on the vertical side are called wall grids. వాటినే మనం పైన రూఫ్ మీద ఉంటే పర్లిన్స్ అంటాము. ఓకే, అండ్ దిస్ ఈస్ ది స్పాన్. Okay, so let me go into this. There are different types of truss that you come across, and the arrangement of the members inside this truss is different here.